Hey, and welcome to another episode. I'm Eric Callaway, the District 17 Special Command Aide for Rear Admiral Bell. If you're joining us today, we have a special episode, as it is the bell pepper episode, where we're going to be making a Mexican-inspired stuffed bell pepper, so stay tuned. Before we get started, though, I want to share a little bit about my passion and my love for cooking and what it does for people. I love food because of what it can do for people and bringing them together. It doesn't matter what kind of day you're having, when you have a nice warmed cooked meal, and it doesn't matter where you are, it definitely makes you feel better. And when you can bring that meal together with multiple people, whether you know them well or not, you're able to share that experience together over good food and good drink. And so being able to be the catalyst for that and bringing those people together brings me no greater joy, and is one of the main reasons that I wanted to join the Coast Guard to be an SCA. Let's go ahead and get started. So here we have the ingredients that we're going to be using for today's recipe. I'm just going to point out a few little things. The first thing is a difference between a male and female bell pepper. The male has 3 points, and they tend not to be as sweet as the females. However, the females are sweeter, but they do have more seeds. And so here we have a female bell pepper. You can tell by the 4 points right there. So for the stuffing for this, we're going to be using a cilantro lime rice that we're going to be making. And so you'll see that I have my rice here along with some salt and pepper that we're going to be using. This is a shallot. It is a member of the onion family, but it is closely related to garlic. If you don't have a shallot, that's okay. You can go ahead and use any onion. Here's our cilantro. And now I use turkey meat. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit leaner, and I just prefer it over ground beef, and that's okay. So we have grape tomatoes that we're going to be using for our stuffing as well, olive oil for sauteing, and there you have it. So we have our bell peppers here. What we're going to be doing is cutting off the tops of them and then stuffing them. So, wrong way. There we go. So I'm cutting off the top. This is a female bell pepper. We're going to reserve the tops because we're going to chop them up and use them in the stuffing. Let's go ahead. Let me get that bowl out of the way. We're going to take the insides out. Now, as the pith, it is actually bitter to the taste. And there we go. We have most of it out now. There's still a few seeds in there. That's okay. We'll take those out right at the end. And so remember, reserve your tops, and we're going to chop those up. Here's your shallot. We're going to go ahead, and for the shallot, similar to an onion, we're going to cut off the bottom of it and then slice it in half. Get that out of the way. Slice right down there. We can get rid of that. Cut right down the middle. And we're going to peel it just like an onion. You don't want to eat that outer husky layer. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to slice and dice this. Now, if you're at home, don't cut your fingers. But basically what we're doing with this is getting a small dice on these. We're going to be sauteing them up here in just a few minutes. So we're going to chop these up. There we go. Now, next up is the grape tomatoes. And for the grape tomatoes, they're going to be going in the stuffing right at the end for the bell peppers before we put them in the oven. And we're going to be cutting these into 6. So we're going to go ahead and cut down half-wise and then into thirds. So 1, 2, 3. There you go. And one more time. Up next is cilantro. We're going to go ahead and cut off the stems for these, just like so. We don't need them for this recipe. There we go. Now I'm going to take my cilantro and I'm going to fold in half. We're going for a rough cut with this. We're not looking for fine dice. So we're going to just cut down just like that. There we go. Perfect. And then I'll probably do one more chop, just going the other way. Boom, boom, boom. A little bit of overkill, but it does the job. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our butter to the pan and let it melt. You can see it's starting to move there just a little bit. Now the butter is melted. Going to add in our rice. This is going to give it a greater depth of flavor, and it should smell almost a little nutty once the rice has browned enough. So now that it's browned, we're going to go ahead, add our chicken stock. There we go. Be careful. You don't want it to bubble up at you too quick. Dump all that in. Perfect. Go ahead, give it a quick stir. Now, the next thing we're going to do is add in our seasonings. I'm not going to go over each seasoning, but you can check the recipe out. for each one that's in there. We'll dump those in, and then we'll go ahead and give them a quick stir. We're gonna wait for this pot to come to a boil, and as soon as it does, we are gonna cover it and let it sit for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. So we'll go ahead and we'll cover that. Set my timer. Perfect. Next up, we are gonna be sauteing the shallots and garlic, but first we're gonna add the shallots in. You can see them start to sizzle there in the pan a little bit. You don't want these to burn, so make sure you're stirring these consistently. You can substitute butter for sauteing as well if you want. I just prefer oil. Go ahead, add our garlic in. We do not want this to burn, or you are going to get a bitter taste, which is the last thing we want with this recipe. So go ahead and stir that around. We're going to add in our bell peppers now. They were chopped up from the tops, and we are going to let them get al dente. And we want just a little bit of a pushback when you bite into them. It's going to add a little bit more texture to the filling once this is all complete. Here's our turkey meat. We're going to add that in, and we're going to begin to kind of chop it up, stir it around a little bit, and let that cook. I did add a little extra oil because turkey is low fat. There we go. Almost done. Perfect. Stir it around a little bit. Now we're going to take our rice. You'll notice it's a little bit wet, and that's okay because we're going to be adding it to the oven, and it's going to lose a lot of that moisture as well. So let's go ahead and mix this up. And then we are going to be adding in our cilantro. Reserve a little bit, as well as our grape tomatoes. There we go. Oops, I spilled. And stir it. We're going to stuff these bell peppers. It should be pretty easy. All we're taking is probably about half a cup and putting it into the bell pepper. And we want to make sure that it is pushed down pretty firmly. And once they're all stuffed, we're going to go ahead and put them in the oven. But while you wait for them to cook, you could go for a walk. You could play cards with a friend. Or you could read a book. Now that they're complete, we're going to add a little bit of lime juice to the top and give them just that little bit of citrusy taste. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm also going to be adding on some cheddar cheese right on top. I'm not a big fan of cheese, so I'm not going to put as much, but feel free to go heavy-handed, and a little bit of cilantro for garnish, and there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Join Tongas and I next week as we make dog treats both dry and frozen. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next week.